The only rule, what's the only rule? It's about shaming, right? What's the only rule,
Right.
Ed Adams?
The only rule is no man shames another man.
Right, great. And yes, and that's great. So no man shames another man. So why is that? It's kind of like Fight Club, right? It's like no one that talks about Fight Club. But it's like, and that's why is that rule the only rule and obviously the most important rule because it's the only rule.
Right. Well, it was vital to create an environment where men felt safe. You know, Robert Bly, the poet, said, "When men get together, can violence be far behind?" And what he was talking about isn't just physical violence, but the put downs, the shaming, the ridicule, and so men at that time, men did not really understand that they were surrounded by sources of shame. And so when whether it be by women or by each other, um, as they began to learn what shame was and how it's influenced their life, um, the men began to become very sensitive to how we spoke to each other, what
Mm,
comments we made. Our words mattered, and that rule, "No man shames another man," created an entire environment where men began to really share their own personal truth. And the reality became that no one was presenting an issue, no matter how dramatic or how simple, that other men didn't either experience, think about, or wonder about. So if you shamed another man, you were actually learning to self shame because the difference between ourself and someone else was really kind of a false dichotomy.
One thing I would just add about how powerful Ed's group is with that rule is that I visited the group, talked with a number of the members, and reported on it as part of us writing this book. And what's neat and hopeful about the M3 experience is that uh, the guys in it are still guys. You know, they're playful. There's jokes. It's not like it's all earnest, and it's also it's not just these highly educated woke guys on the coast. You might think of like San Francisco or New York, guys that are kind of steeped in a kind of a woke culture. These guys are all over the gamut in terms of their jobs. There's a construction company owner. There's accountants. And yet they have found this way of moving past that culture of put downs and shame and overly hazing each other to get to this place of depth and emotional honesty and
mm.
deeper life fulfillment. And so I just was like, holy cow, I didn't know this was possible. And it gives me a lot of hope as we think about the kind of polarization in society and how a lot of guys are kind of stuck right now in this confined masculinity.